Hey everyone, I'm your host Chris Sands, and today we're talking about wine. It's been it's probably been over a year since I had anyone on to talk about wine. But today we're joined by Jim Bachman and Jana Howell. Is it Howley?
Yeah.
For some reason, like I just had a complete thing. Like for some reason, I feel like I've never heard the last part of your name said.
I can tell you just stopped dead.
Yeah. In my head, that doesn't sound right. Like, I think I've always just heard like anyone ever just refers to you as Jana to me, and then I don't know. Sorry, and I'm notorious for just butchering every name I try to say. At some point, I may become professional and try those things ahead of time first. Well, anyway, they are with the Maryland Wine Association. You also recognize Jim as being part of, and Jana is also the Brewers Association of Maryland because they both work for Grow and Fortified, the company that is contracted. Is that right?
Yeah.
To like administer the basically anyone who makes fun juice in Maryland.
It's the official term, fun juice.
Yeah.
But also any agriculture. The official would be value added agriculture, right?
Yep.
Cool. At least I know that part.
A lot of pots and around a lot of glasses throughout the state.
So even though we're here to talk about wine, Jim, maybe we should take this opportunity first to talk a little bit about beer and the glassware sale.
I think since we're on your podcast, that would be great.
And that hasn't been talked. I may have alluded to it in past episodes, but I think it would be a good time. Why don't you give a rundown of what's happening? And if you're viewing, I will show you.
Sure. So February is historically Maryland Beer Month, followed by Maryland Wine Month in March. So we are celebrating February right now. The Brewers Association of Maryland has some great glassware. Chris was kind enough to suggest that we try doing a glassware fundraiser and put together a couple of local artists who were willing to contribute artwork to put on these beautiful glasses. We worked with ACS, Brand My Beverage, to get these glasses printed, and we will be printing these glasses to order essentially, and we'll be fulfilling all of these orders in mid-March. They are going to be set up for you to pick up at your favorite local brewery. And 100% of the proceeds of this glassware goes right to the Brewers Association of Maryland. It is funding that we are going to use to make up for a gap in our revenue from not being able to host any great beer events for just about a year now. So we're really hoping that this is a glass or a set of glasses that you find to be attractive and interesting and want to add to your collection. And you can find them at BeerMi, BIERMI.com/store/BAM. And I think Chris may have a bit.ly link that he was going to share to get those. So just keep an eye out for those. We think they're pretty fun and exciting, and we hope that you like them.
And a cool part, too, is that both artists have done a lot of label art in Maryland, probably outside of Maryland, too. Actually, yeah, definitely outside, because Brian's done some work for Vanish.
Vanish, yeah.
One is Edmund Designs. He does a lot for Hysteria. He's done a lot recently for Idiom. And then Brian Balls has done Vanish, Idiom, Old Mother. I think
way back in the day he did some stuff for Pub Dogs spin-off brand. He's done a lot of really great logo and label design for the beer industry.
So everyone should chip in, help BAM out, and get some awesome glassware in the process.
And save some money to buy the 2-pack.
And they're very, like, these may be the first tall boy glasses I've had, but they're very comfortable to drink out of.
When we were going back and forth on the glassware, I said I like the can shape because it fits my giant hand very well.
All right, enough about beer. Let's talk about wine. So I've had a couple wineries on before, but I've never done anything specifically about the Maryland Wine Association. So Jim and Jana, do you want to give a rundown of what that is?
Sure. So the Maryland Wineries Association, we have more than 100 licensed winery members and probably a good 20 in planning members. And we're also lucky to have affiliate members who are businesses that support the industry overall. And it is the oldest alcohol association in the state of Maryland. I think it was 1984 when it was established. Could be wrong. But very well established and has done a lot to advance laws that support the wineries organizations and businesses, but also created a good template for how the brewery reform happened, the Brewery Modernization Act happened. So it's a great organization, and we recently, on last Friday, had our Governor's Cup wine competition, which was a lot of fun and really fantastic to get to taste so many of our wineries' wines. And the quality is just spot on for so many of them. And it was just really, really fun to see the kind of creativity and innovation that our members have.
Yeah, I think one thing it's missed, a lot of people will complain about the disparity in laws between breweries and what wineries can do, a lot of it around shipping and things. And I think what people don't think about is that the Wine Association has been around and at it for way longer than the beer industry in Maryland. So they just have a decade or two head start in trying to loosen up the regulations in Maryland.
Yeah.
Well, I think that nationwide, there's also been a history of wineries operating in a way that people kind of came to assume that's how a winery operated, which was wine clubs, the ability to send wine to people. People would come to your winery, tour it, and walk away with cases of wine as part of their consumer experience. And prior to this, revitalization of the beer industry in the country, that wasn't the case at breweries. Breweries put everything into a package and it went out to a wholesaler, and the wholesaler took it out to a package shop or to a restaurant, and that's where you had your interaction with beer. And I think making the beer world look a little bit more like wine in terms of the consumer experience, the ability to go to where it's made and taste things there, has driven that demand that the beer industry has been looking for.
Well, and it's the low lifes like you and I that drink beer. So we can't be trusted to have nice things.
I've been found at several wineries too.
Okay, I guess like me.
Wine comes in cans now too, so if you drop it, it's not a big deal. Unlike Jim's big man hands handling a glass bottle. So,
so that probably wasn't
perfectly in my hand.
He just wraps them with duct tape to keep them in place. So one of the problems, which we already touched on for the glassware, is that these trade organizations, a lot of your funding comes from events. And I'm going to guess that wine events aren't safe from COVID. So that I assume there have not been any wine related events in the past year.
We have not gathered with the Maryland Wineries Association in person since March of last year. We were able to kick off Maryland Wine Month at Red Wine Bar in Annapolis. We had First Lady Yumi Hogan join us to recognize all of our previous years, so the 2019 Governor's Cup winners and medalists. We had a great gathering, and I think it was 6 days later, everything started to really close down and slow down in the state. All of the recommendations from the governor to kind of put the brakes on how people were gathering were applied, and we have not had an in-person gathering since then.
No, I think the closest thing we had to an in-person gathering was doing last summer's Stay Home and Wine Down, where people picked up wine, they pre-ordered wine, and then they picked it up. And we were manning the drop sites, the pickup sites, and I think we were ridiculously giddy to see other human beings enjoying picking up wine, and a lot of the people picking up wine seemed really giddy to be seeing other wine lovers and picking up some fun wine. So yeah, that was the last time.
Have there been any loosening up of regulations as applied to wine, like in other industries, where they have wineries been allowed to do anything during COVID that they couldn't beforehand, or was there already enough of an operating environment that there didn't need to be changes?
I mean,
go ahead, Jenna.
Oh, they were already able to ship direct to consumer within the state of Maryland and outside the state if they have the appropriate shipping permits. But like the spirits and the beer producers, they gained the ability to do deliveries. And yeah, and they was just adding the delivery component, which a good number of our members, I would say, did take advantage of that. A lot of them did the curbside pickup, but some of them are doing deliveries right to consumers, which, I think has been a great support for them, for all of our members.
And they're doing really creative delivery stuff too. Mm-hmm. It's not just delivery of bottles. Some of them are doing like prepackaged tasting flights and things like that are being delivered to their followers. That's cool. So that's really cool. You get kind of that experience of going and tasting through things and seeing what the wine is all about from the safety of your own home and having it delivered to you by somebody from the winery. So you get that last chance to, at least see the representative from the winery if it's through the window or something as you're showing them your ID and they're contactless dropping it off on your porch.
Yeah, I'm completely outside of that world and culture, but it seems like that those tasting flights are much more of an important aspect of wine drinking than like beer drinking is. Is that accurate?
I think there's space for it in both industries for sure. It's all about figuring out where that producer, that winery or that brewery is applying their craft and what they're trying to express in each one of the things that they're releasing. So all those releases are going to have kind of the touch of what that winemaker may do, and you'd see the same thing in the beer world. But
but breweries have kind of slowly, and I almost feel like flights are something that aren't going to come back after COVID. Like breweries already hated them pre-COVID. Some breweries refuse to do them anyway. So I kind of feel like a flight of beer may be a thing of the past.
Well, I hope for the sake of the consumer that's not the case, because if they were to go away in a winery, I think it would take away from the ability of going to sit down and truly just experience everything that's coming out of that winery. A majority of the wineries are growing grapes on site, so you want to taste what the fruit tastes like. You want to taste what the heritage of that location is. And
that's what I mean, though. I think I feel like it's much more ingrained in wine. Like wineries, I don't see why they would ever stop. Like that's always been part of like a big, because one, if you're walking away from a winery, you're most likely buying a semi-expensive bottle. So they're just, I don't know, it seems very different between getting a flight of wine and a flight of beer, and like not, and I mean, never drank a flight of wine. But I know
we gotta fix that.
Wine doesn't wreck your palate though, like as you try different wines, does it?
If you can. You kind of, you do it in I hate to say the wrong order, but there is an order that keeps your palate fresher than if you choose to ignore the order. So drinking a big, gigantic, tannic red wine, ahead of, right before you drink a nice light-bodied white wine, there's going to be some protesting going on with those, those taste buds and in your palate. Whereas if you do it the opposite way, you're kind of working your way from light-bodied into fuller-bodied. But I mean, that's the same for beer too,
Yeah, like would that be as bad as if you had like a West Coast IPA and then went to a Pilsner? Would it have the? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning something.
Well, you have to think you still have all of that retro nasal aromatic stuff happening with those big bold words. So you still have the smell, you still have all of it on the palate. When you try to get those finer notes that are expressed in something a little bit less in your face, it's going to be very, very easy to miss those things.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I took us way off topic with my wrong ideas.
Well, you had the right idea. That's the best part.
So maybe this would be a perfect time.
Right now?
What's that?
Were you drinking fruit punch?
No.
Oh, okay. It was very red. I was like, oh, Chris is enjoying fruit punch.
It is red. It's not fruit punch, though.
Nice.
It's not going to say what it is.
But maybe we can get myself back on track if we take a real quick sponsor break. So we will be right back.
If you haven't heard about our beer dinners, well, now you have. Typically, the last Tuesday of each month, we partner with a local brewery and craft an exclusive 5-course dinner. Each course is thoughtfully paired with some of the finest craft beer available. You'll meet the brewery, enjoy memorable pairings and service, and have a damn good time. Like us on Facebook to stay in the know when tickets become available, because they will sell out quick.
Idiom Brewing Company proudly offers a delicious variety of beers to satisfy the most discerning tastes. Best known for their wide array of IPAs, delicious fruited sours, and robust porters and stouts, Idiom prides themselves on continuing to innovate, utilizing new and experimental hops, local ingredients, and unique flavor profiles. Idiom has a simple goal in mind: to bring people from all walks of life together to enjoy themselves and each other. Idiom Brewing Company is located in downtown Frederick, just south of the intersection of East Street and East Patrick Street, with ample seating and directly on Carroll Creek.
Okay, so you delivered flights to places that I don't see. I mean, I think we could all agree a brewery would never do that.
Probably not.
So at least there we can agree on that. That would be a bad idea for a brewery to do, to send 4-ounce samples to.
I'm going to try that on Beer Me and see how many breweries are pissed off at me.
I mean, the really cool thing about this was kind of the approach that a lot of these folks were using too. I mean, the one that stands out to me was Robin Hill Vineyards was taking like plastic, like the little like ramekins that you would use maybe for Jello shots or something, and they were sealing them, and then they were putting them inside like a half dozen egg carton and delivering you this egg carton. You opened it up, you had like the tasting card and all of the labeled wines inside of it, and it was just a cool little way to ensure that it was easy to deliver to somebody and that it kind of left an impression.
See, like I said, that like for me, in my mind, it just makes 100% complete sense to do with wine. I am also not a wine drinker.
Well, you can start getting some deliveries of sample flights to the house.
I know. I feel like this is a challenge. It's like game on now. Game on.
I have had a wine or two that I enjoyed.
Okay, Mad Dog doesn't count.
It's not malt liquor.
Doesn't count.
Do they even make Mad Dog anymore?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. That was the wine of my high school. Sitting out in the field, you know.
My wife's a wine drinker. I don't.
Well, then maybe you should think about getting one of these awesome Maryland Wine Explorer packages, and you and Beth can enjoy them together.
I like that segue, Jim. That was perfect.
That is a good segue. She's not drinking right now, though. But what is this Maryland Wine Explorer package that you speak of?
Now that was the sharp segue, Chris. Thank you. I know Chris well enough that sometimes you just have to throw it out there for him to grab it and like bring it all back. That works out well. So the Maryland Wine Explorer is the individual. The Explorer is the wine consumer in Maryland, and we're trying to find ways to engage with them. And Jana mentioned earlier the Stay Home and Wine Down thing we did over the summer of 2020. And that was the first Maryland Wine Explorer engagement that kind of stood as its own brand. The name originated with the Maryland Wine Explorer tent that has been featured at the Maryland Wine Festival. It was a place where a more curated selection of wines from the Maryland Wineries Association members were hosted. Because festivals are the way that they are, not everybody can attend them in terms of our membership due to, staffing issues, availability of wine, things like that. So what we have done is develop this location where folks who want to taste things that aren't featured in the festival at large can pay a little bit higher ticket price, taste some curated wines, talk to some different representatives of the wine industry, not always somebody from a winery, but maybe people who work in wine buying or wine sales, and really get more of a one-on-one experience with a much wider variety of wines than they would see normally featured at the festival. So we thought that enthusiasm that those consumers have for learning more about wine and being passionate about it was something that we wanted to try to cultivate across Maryland's wine consumers at large. And I think that was kind of the springboard for the development of the Maryland Wine Explorer program. As part of that, we have these awesome packages, and I'm going to let Jana talk about the packages.
So we came up with a couple different packages. We've got a white wine package, and these are 3 packs. So 3 bottles of white wine, a red pack, 3 bottles of red wine. And then we've got a themed pack or themed packs each quarter. So you can either buy into the club, so you're signing up for a quarterly allocation of wine, or you can just purchase the wine a la carte. You don't need to sign up for the club. The benefit of signing up for the club is you get a discount on the wines, plus you also get a discount on any wines that you just choose to buy a la carte. So if you subscribe to the white wine pack and a themed pack comes up and you're like, hey, that looks really interesting, you get a discount on that for being a club member. And then hopefully when we have events again, we'll have some events that are going to be for club members only. So that may be early admission, it may be special tastings or special, seminars for club members. So the white and the red packs stay the same, they're offered each quarter, and then the themed packs change. So this quarter's theme pack is called the Maryland Heritage Pack, sort of celebrating the long history of Maryland wine. And also we're heading into Maryland Wine Month in March. So we kind of wanted to develop a pack that really gave people the opportunity to taste some of the grape varietals that kind of got Maryland started as an industry and take us into the 21st century. So that's a cool pack. They're all cool packs. What am I saying?
Who curates them?
So there's a committee, a small committee of us that gets the wines, and then we taste through them, and we take notes, write tasting notes, and we discuss them, and then we just figure out, does it sort of fit thematically with our pack? And what I mean about that is, in each pack, we try to highlight, for example, a heritage winery, one of our long established wineries in the state. We also try to feature a new winery. And then we try to have a diversity of grape offerings in the pack. And so that's what that conversation is, and what wines might complement each other within the pack. So we're kind of weighing a bunch of different things. Are the reds, kind of a nice offerings of, for example, now fuller bodied red wines, because it's kind of cold outside and you want, a nice full bodied wine that you can have with some, heavier foods, and also just sit in front of your fireplace and drink and enjoy too. So we're kind of weighing all of those different things when we put the packs together.
Is seasonality of drinking a big thing in the wine world?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that just drink what you enjoy, and if you enjoy a nice, gigantic, big, bold red, 365 days a year, go for it. But yeah, absolutely. There are wines can have different weight, sort of different levels of acidity, be lighter bodied, fuller bodied. Yeah, so you can, that can be the fun about wine, is that you sort of have it be seasonal and pair it with those seasonal foods. But again, if you just really like big, bold reds and you want to drink those year round, that's awesome too.
Are are all member wines rotated through there, or is it up to the winery to specifically participate in this?
So some wines will say, hey, we have this wine we'd love you to try, and we'll, again, this group will taste it, and we'll, figure out, okay, does it work for this pack? Does it kind of, has it won an award? Is it really small, interesting allotment? And we'll determine whether we can include it in the pack. And some wines were like, hey, we can't put it in this pack, but let's slot it into, another pack later in the year. So we're kind of always trying to think a little bit forward to, again, maybe it didn't work in this pack that we'd curated, but we want to definitely use it down the line because it might fit in thematically with a theme we've got down the line, or something that works, calendar wise, like, heading into Maryland Wine Month, as I'd mentioned. We had a Thanksgiving pack last quarter. So we wanted wines, that very specifically paired well with kind of the myriad of flavors that you get at a Thanksgiving meal. So we were looking for some very specific kinds of wines for that pack.
To the point of themes, the idea of the Explorer name isn't lost on how we approach building these packs out either, because we truly want people to open the pack up and be ready to taste a variety of different things that all may fall under the warm winter red wine pack. We have this awesome bourbon barrel-aged Merlot in this red wine pack that is like out of this world, but it stands so far away from what the other red wines in the pack are that it's not as though anything's going to become it's not going to feel like you're returning to any wine in the pack. They all stand on their own separately, and it's kind of like the tasting flights we were talking about earlier. You get this opportunity to taste each one of these things, learn about them. We send out tasting cards, so you're getting a little bit of education about the wine itself, the winery, maybe the winemaker, depending on the details that are on the card. And using that, you kind of now have this little way to guide your journey through the wines that are in your box, and you get to learn about what's going on. So I think that the really cool thing is you're taking something away that's more than just, hey, I got these 3 bottles of wine, now what do I do with them?
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing that we're trying to do is, it's difficult for any wine lover to get all across the entire state of Maryland. So we are trying to have that regional representation too. And we are trying to, create this opportunity where we're getting you familiar with these wineries. And then we hope you go out and visit these wineries in a way that, feels safe and comfortable for you. So if that's just maybe ordering wine from them and having it shipped to your house, that's fantastic. If you're able and comfortable to go out and actually visit them, that's, even better, because you'll really get to see what their property looks like, and just get to see all of the sort of the love and passion that these people put into their wines.
I guess that's one of the beauties of wineries, now at least, is that they tend to have much more property and can safely have more people come to the winery.
Yeah.
That was a big consideration during a lot of the understanding and interpretation of what the guidelines were in jurisdictions throughout the state. What are the limits on outdoor capacity? I have 75 acres on my property. Where can I put people? I mean, we were hearing a lot of that because they were all coming up with very creative ways to host everyone. We've heard of places like Big Cork that went out and set up like 10-foot circles all over the property, so they knew exactly where people could be. And they had those demonstrated and were able to say, look, this is a safe space for you. We had places like Red Heifer get these cool geodesic domes that people could sit in throughout the winter and stay, temperate, but be still outdoors and have the ability to feel as though they were only going to be interacting with the folks that they came with. So utilizing that space in different creative ways, I think, made for a much more flexible adopting of some of these restrictions.
So tell everyone one more time where they can go to sign up for these packs for individual or for the joining and all those details.
So they can go to marylandwine.com, and there at the top of the site, they can just click on Explorer, and it'll tell you all about the program. You can either, again, sign up as a club member, so you're committing to a quarterly allocation, or you can just shop a la carte. And there's also a bunch of frequently asked questions too, in case you kind of want to understand how the program works. And we also have gift cards too. So if you maybe want to share your love of Maryland wine with a friend or family member, but you're a little bit nervous about picking a pack for them, we've got these gift cards available too. And then the quarterly allocation, they'll be going out the week of the 22nd. And then we do kind of take the store down, and we will select new wines, and then we will relaunch the store again in probably 2 months. And it'll be open and up for people to again purchase or sign up for the club. And then we'll ship wines out again, in a couple of months. So.
Where do the quarters fall? Is it like a normal year, or is quarter loose? Like
with Jana at the helm, we're going to keep these quarters pretty darn tight.
Okay. So, like, does it start like January, February, March, first quarter, and then
essentially?
It doesn't right now because we really wanted to get wines out in November before Thanksgiving. So we felt really strongly about wanting to kick off the program right before Thanksgiving when we could put these great packs together that would pair well with food. So now this pack is going to go out in February, which means the next one's May, then August, and then again in November. So I guess we're always trying to make sure we get the wines out right before Thanksgiving each year, at the end towards each year.
Well, and the timing works out great for getting wine into the hands of folks to celebrate Maryland Wine Month this year. So I think that the schedule that we've chosen, I think, really
would shifts closer to be in line with every holiday, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the Memorial Day stuff coming up in the May time frame. So, good wines for hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm sure we can find some selections for
let's take one more. Is there anything more about the program or the packs that you want to cover before we take a quick break?
I think when we come back from the break, we might be able to talk a little bit more in depth about the packs we're offering this time.
Okay. And we'll do that. I want to talk a little bit about trends in wine. And then I want to ask you about one of your members that I just noticed while I was perusing your site. So I think it'll be good. But we will be right back. There are many reasons why I've chosen District East for where I purchase beer. I love the flexibility of being able to make a custom 6-pack or take home a crowler from one of the 8 beers on tap. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff do an amazing job at keeping a diverse selection on hand. You can even purchase artwork from the monthly featured artist. District East is located on Northeast Street in Frederick in the same shopping center as Family Mill and Rockwell Brewery. You can find today's beer lists on the District East Facebook page or at www.districteast.beer. To all you craft breweries, wineries, and distilleries out there, listen up. Atlantic Custom Solutions is the real deal in providing you branded growlers, ceramics, glassware, and accessories like koozies, coasters, and keychains. Their high-definition digital printing, organic ink, and low-fire process ensures your brand is printed in ultra-high definition, giving you a one-up on the competition. We've used Atlantic Custom Solutions for uncapped branded glassware and couldn't be happier with it. Check them out. Visit www.brandmybeverage.com or give them a call at 434-286-4500 to learn more about how they can help you brand your business. Uncapped is brought to you with support from McClintock Distilling, Maryland's first and only organic certified distillery. They are well known for their award-winning gin and are rapidly growing a name for themselves for their Matchstick Bourbon and Bootjack Rye Whiskey that have both won double gold at international spirits competitions. You can visit them in historic downtown Frederick along Carroll Creek for tours and tastings. Go to McClintockDistilling.com for more information. Before we jump back into the packs, let's talk about what I want to talk about first. Tell me about Wine Cream.
Wine Cream is an ice cream and wine product that is served and prepared with a bunch of really, really cold compressed liquid nitrogen. And it's apparently a very delicious and satisfying product for very hot days.
You haven't had a chance to try it yet?
I will not confirm or deny that I have had several wine and cream experiences at the wine festival. It's wonderful stuff. It's really cool. It's along the line, you mentioned maybe talking about some trends. It's kind of along the lines of the like the boozy milkshakes and fortified ice cream products that you might find at some local retailers.
How new is this?
They've been around for several years.
Yeah.
I'm just now seeing it.
I think you would love it.
I know. I want to try that. I feel like this would be a way for me to tiptoe into wine, like the perfect bridge. Yeah.
Product. Yeah.
A bunch of dairy and sugar with some wine sprinkled in it.
There you go.
Although it says it's still 10% ice cream, so I guess it's still powerful. The pictures I really want. Where is that available? Is it only available at their?
I think they did package for a little while, and I feel like I recalled seeing it the first time maybe at Mount Airy Liquors.
Okay, that's not that far from me.
No, I would double check, but I think that was the first place I ever saw it.
I need to try that. All right.
It didn't take long. We got Chris into wine.
Yeah, it took 34 minutes. The one funny thing about the wine cream is we got it last time when we had festival. Like I don't know if it was Jim, it was you or Abby got a container of it, and when it comes out, it's hard as a rock, and then it softens up. But we were all standing there at the wine festival, stabbing it away with our spoons, waiting for it to warm up so we could eat it. It was a sign of desperation.
It's also a tough thing because on some of those days when it's, so hot outside and they have that liquid nitrogen container as it's cracking off, freezing the ice cream because they're making it like on demand, basically. That thing can overcool and then they can't serve anything. So they've had a couple of times trying to get that thing dialed in out on a really hot day where it just, hey, we can't make anything happen with this, which is kind of tough. So definitely if you can find it prepackaged or find it somewhere where the temperature is a little bit better than 100 degrees outside, you're better off.
Although it's probably really satisfying at 100 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
The pictures look really cool. I definitely have to try some of that.
Maybe you should have an episode of Uncapped Podcast where you taste wine cream for the first time.
Maybe I will. I have to wait till it's safe to be in person because I don't want to do that one virtually.
Yeah.
Because I need it here in front of me.
Can you tell me how that tastes?
All right. Back to the Explorer packs. Let me load that screen again. So we talked about the Meriden Heritage pack.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the red wine and the white wines. I assume it's the same process as coming up with the Heritage pack. You taste a bunch. That must be horrible for you.
Yeah, I think our last tasting we had like 26 bottles or something.
Yeah,
and we sampled through and knowing that we were going to fill 9 spots. So it's kind of like it's like trying to pick your favorite pet or your favorite child. It's one of those deals where you know that they all bring a lot to the table and you want to be able to show the spotlight on all of them at once. But like Jana said, we are very capable of finding where they're going to fit together to complement each other in the packs well, and also kind of having a little bit of foresight to think, hey, in May, that wine will be an excellent addition to the pack that we plan to put out.
My wife and I were at a restaurant when they were doing a wine tasting with a distributor. I think they had dozens and dozens of bottles that they had opened and only drank a little bit of. So they gave my wife like 2 cases to take home with her. Then I think like 2 weeks later, we found out we were having our second kid. So she didn't really get to enjoy them.
Down the drain. They're all getting bad.
So do you sit around with pictures of the wine and like with lists of their attributes and argue about who should be added in?
I don't know that argue would be the right word. It's definitely we talk through it. It's definitely collaborative. And then there's some wines where, the response is almost instantaneous, just like, oh yeah. that one's going in, type of thing. And then there's, some where, we kind of will go back and forth, like, well, what would this pair well with? How does it fit in this particular pack? Like the Maryland Heritage Pack, we were looking for very specific grapes that kind of had been some other grapes that helped establish the industry. So, that was, okay, we're looking very specifically to try Seyval Blanc, Vidal Blanc, Chambourcin, which are, 3 of the grapes that kind of help get the industry propelling forward. So yeah, I mean, we haven't had, there's nobody's thrown bottles or glasses, and nobody's stomped out, nobody.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're only on the second iteration of this thing. Let's see what happens in the future.
She haven't invited me yet. That's why.
I do think that this is a pretty cool experience. The experience of kind of sampling through what's being considered for inclusion, because a lot of it is very, we're all very open. So we're all talking a lot about what's going on as we're tasting it. We're sharing all of our thoughts about it. And what's cool is you really get an idea of what perspective is coming into each person's approach. I tend to very quickly jump to the idea of what food do I want to eat with this wine right now. And I love cooking. I love eating. So having really great wine with really great flavor makes me want to think about how I can enjoy it with food. And I think that almost every time it's coming to the point where I'm tasting a wine, I'm already thinking about what do I want to eat? And I think I'm rapidly blurting out names of dishes and proteins and all kinds of stuff when we're doing these tastings.
So how do you come up with the pool of wines that you then whittle down from? Do you put a call out to members to submit ones, or do you just think like these wines might fit in and you just get them and then whittle down?
I mean, it's kind of a variety of methods. I mean, there are some wines that we know have won awards in the past, and so we may want to try that wine if we haven't tried it in a while, and see if we can include it in the pack. Sometimes it might be something that's a little bit of an unusual blend. Like one of our wines in the Heritage Pack is a Vidal Blanc Chardonnay blend. So we thought, oh, that just sounds really interesting. Let's give that one a try. And it turned out to work really beautifully for the pack. Some of them are, wineries that we may not be as familiar with. They may be newer, and so we'll ask to try their wines, or wineries that, none of us have been able to visit for a while, and so we'll ask to try their wines and see, if it fits well in the pack. So again, the Governor's Cup competition that we just had last Friday, that'll be a nice way for us to select some of the wines, because we'll know how much is commercially available, and we can approach the winery and say, hey, we'd really like to include it in this pack. Is that possible? And then they'll let us know, yeah, it is, or no, we've pretty much allocated all of that to our wine club members and our tasting room. And so it is a little bit of a kind of a dance that we're always doing to sort of just try to figure out this kind of nice, perfect balance of offerings.
To Jenna's point about which wineries end up in the pool for consideration, in the red pack this year, we have this red blend from Cabin Vineyards. And the most interesting thing about this wine, aside from how incredibly tasty it is that the wine cannot be purchased anywhere. The owner of the winery is not selling the wine publicly. He's making these wines. They're excellent. They're putting them into competitions. They're scoring well, but they're not being sold anywhere. And I think
it's a weird business model. Please let us include this wine, because it's the perfect addition to what we're trying to do, and it's a great showcase of what we're doing. So the pool is kind of, like Jana said, coming from everywhere. We have people that are excited to bring a wine and say, hey, find a place for this in the Wine Explorer packs, or we're soliciting members to include wines that we think would showcase really well. And the beauty is, once they kind of get the ball rolling, it's like, oh, well, you like this one. Why don't you think about including this one or this one or this one? And it really broadens our ability to narrow down really great wines.
And our goal is to highlight as many of our wineries as we can. So, we're not going to be repeating one winery to the next, each quarter. We're really trying to kind of, like I said, highlight sort of the geographical differences, some of our newer wineries, some of our well-established wineries, and just really, again, kind of create this cool exploring opportunity.
So why doesn't he sell his wine?
It was very good wine too.
Really loves wine and making wine.
Huh. Okay.
Chris is now intrigued.
Remember back when home brewing was like the thing that people did before they decided they were going to be pro brewers. They were all making their own beer just to enjoy and have to themselves, and it was a fun hobby and something to do. And if that's what the owner of this vineyard is doing, more power to him, because he's going to be pretty happy with what he's able to drink for himself for a while.
Yeah.
Interesting business model. So when do you have your next meeting to decide the next pack?
Probably be first thing in April or very late March.
Yeah. Yep. So it takes a little while to taste through the wines, put them together in the packs, get everybody, to agree, like, yeah, we're willing to be part of it. And then Jim and I pull all the information together and put it on the website and kick it off and launch it. So
sounds like Chris wants to be a celebrity taster.
I know. I think I was getting that. Yeah, I was getting that.
I would be useless.
But you know what?
Slightly less than useless, probably.
You have a palate, you have a nose, you can offer your input.
We're not, the point of the packs isn't for the consumer to get them and have to be all like, ooh la la, I'm getting violet and mulberries and all. It's just to have wines that are well made and delicious to drink. And if you like wine, that's all you need to join. You like wine.
So when you curate the pack, and so they're available for those 3 months, are like wine releases at all analogous to beer, where like towards the end of, like, you wouldn't be able to get that wine at all, or is there usually enough of each type of wine that it's available for a while?
No, I mean,
does it completely depend?
I mean, it depends, but yeah, you can absolutely run out of a particular vintage of a wine. So something that maybe was in our November pack, a winery might not even have that available anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, and you're rolling into the next vintage, and vintages can change so much from year to year. So something that was harvested in 2017 was very, very different from something that was harvested in 2018. So that's kind of the fun of it too, because there is that year to year, variability of what that wine, it may be a Cabernet Franc, for example, but it could taste very different from one vintage to the next.
Do you know what the next specialty pack is going to be to replace the heritage?
I don't think we've decided yet. I think we had a couple of concepts up in the air, but I don't know that we have anything finalized.
It may be something highlighting some of the Governor's Cup wines.
Okay.
And to the point about availability and allotment and allocations of wines and all that kind of stuff, one of the things that we're going to be running as part of the Maryland Wine Explorer program are flash sales that would feature wines that maybe a winery doesn't have much inventory left, but they're finding a fun way to allow it to get a little bit more amplification into the market or into the consumer thought process. We're looking for ways to help members get more of their wine in front of everybody. So if you're running low on, this year's Cab Sauv and you want to get rid of it, and you want to have a really great way to like showcase it and say, hey, Bon Voyage, we have a great new vintage coming in. Let's see the last of that little amount that we had left go in a unique way. We're going to be offering things like that on flash sale. So that's pretty exciting too, is that if you're a member of the Maryland Wine Explorer program, you may get an email that says, hey, tomorrow deeply discounted bottles of this really cool wine are going to be available. Make sure you get them.
Do you have any other virtual events planned for this year?
The only virtual event that we currently have planned is going to be the kickoff of our Maryland Wine Month celebration. We'll gather some folks from the board. We'll do a little bit of a toast and hopefully talk about the great things the industry has been doing to keep afloat over the last year. In terms of what our virtual event calendar looks like, we're still trying to figure that out. We're in a sticky place right now where we feel like there's the opportunity for virtual, but we can see just on the horizon the opportunity for in-person events. And Abby, our events director, is working really hard to make sure that we have a great, successful entree back into the world of live events instead of having to do everything on the computer. We're getting some feedback even through our Wine Wednesdays that people like short snippets of engagements and that they're getting a little fatigued from the longer things. So we are trying to keep up with a weekly or as close to weekly as we can get during session engagement on the internet through both Facebook and YouTube, allowing people to learn more about our industry and kind of hear from it from the mouth of our director, Kevin Addix. He hosts those and brings great wineries in and chats with them about their businesses.
Back to the world of beer real quick. Are you planning on having any virtual beer festivals this year, or is it the same story where it's kind of hoping they'll hold on and that we'll be able to do something in person towards the middle to end of the year?
I think it's the same story. We're trying to find effective ways to get people to support the industries. And as much as our associations live off of the revenue from events, it's more important, I think, for consumers to be spending their money at our members' locations than spending money to watch us on the internet.
Probably a really good point.
We want to do events again as much as I think consumers want us to do events.
And that's one thing about this Maryland Wine Explorer program that we didn't really touch on. I mean, we touched on it a little bit at the beginning that this was developed as a way to generate some revenue for the association, but this is a true fundraiser for this association. In lieu of paying $35 to $75 a ticket to come to one of our festivals, where we make a portion of those proceeds, buying into one of these wine packs gives us the opportunity to raise a little bit of money for the association, pass the money on to our members through basically the brokerage of the wine for them. And it becomes something where you can feel good about paying for the 3-pack that you just paid for because you paid for wages and rent and upkeep and maintenance for those 3 wineries that are featured in the pack. Plus you were able to pay a little bit of money to the association to keep us doing the work that we do, advocating and promoting the industries across the state.
And then hopefully you're falling in love with these different wineries and ending up visiting them or ordering from them too. So
yeah, that pull-through idea is the big part to this.
Especially like in Frederick, if you're being exposed to a winery, I don't know where the wineries in Maryland are, but I imagine there are ones that are far away from Frederick that gives you the opportunity to try a wine from there that may not be like distributed through stores that now you're aware of, and then you make a special trip out to that winery to.
Chris, you're spoiled by all of the density in Frederick County.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's hardly ever a reason to leave Frederick County.
There are a lot of wineries in Frederick County, yes. But
I'd say about 85% of the industry, though, is not in Frederick County.
Yeah, but that 15% we have is really good.
That's true.
For all of the fun juice.
That's true.
Does an alarm go off like if you cross over into Washington County or Carroll County or something like that? You know, like your car just stops at the county line.
My tracking bracelet.
Right, it's like a shopping cart. It just doesn't go.
Yeah.
It locks up.
The boot locks down on the wheels. I mean, ultimately, I could be happy just staying within the city limits. I don't even have to quantify out further to Frederick County. We're spoiled here.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely true.
I'm assuming absolutely no hope of the Frederick craft beer festival this year?
Doesn't seem like it's totally off the table yet, but we're not getting a ton of indication that it's gonna be something that we can plan readily for.
Yeah, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
In terms of planning, it's a day away. You know, if we were going to do it, I think that we would have to have everything pretty much ready to rock and roll right now. And when I say we would have to have everything, I don't mean internally. I mean, we would need the county to be on board in time, the city to be on board in time. We would have had to ensure that everybody's comfortable with what's happening. And I think that it seems that there's still just a little bit too much up in the air to make all the stakeholders comfortable in hosting an event that big.
Yeah. Well, you have 1 minute until you have to leave. So I feel like we timed this perfectly.
Can I go ahead and throw in the plugs for where people can find this?
You absolutely can.
Thanks. If you'd like to learn more about the Maryland Wine Explorer program and all the hard work that Jan has been doing to make this storefront work beautifully and have great descriptions, and if you'd like to taste any of these great wines, please visit marylandwine.com/explorer, or when you get to marylandwine.com, just click on the Explorer logo at the top. It'll take you right to our page. You can browse the 3-packs that we have available this quarter, and you may also select some options at the bottom to subscribe. If you subscribe, you save some money on your wine pack allocations, and you get flat rate shipping on all of your future purchases with us. So that's what we've got for you. We hope that you enjoy, and check us out at marylandwine.com.
And it is a very nice website. Very, very well designed. You can find the wine cream within 5 minutes of just browsing around.
You can also check out all the other wineries on the site for wine cream, or in addition to wine cream.
But it's chock full of information. I don't think there's any question you would develop while looking at it, and the answer isn't going to be right there.
Yeah, great map. The map that we've added over the last year is much more intuitive than they have been in the past. It's got a little less clutter. It allows you to focus in on areas and see who's represented in those close spaces, especially places like Frederick or Baltimore County, where we have several people who are kind of in close proximity to each other.
Well, thank you two so much. Thank you for your time, for opening my world up to the idea of wine a little bit more, making me aware of a thing called wine cream. I will definitely
you did that on your own.
Well, I would not have been surfing around on the Maryland Wine website, most likely, if I hadn't been talking to you about Maryland wine. So it was a direct result of this occasion.
Well, thanks for giving us the opportunity to come and talk about this program. It's really exciting for us, and we think that this is kind of a real opportunity for Maryland wine consumers to explore more of the state's wine heritage and future by just clicking a few buttons and waiting for a great package to show up.
I know when my wife goes back to drinking, I will definitely get her some.
Oh,
I think she would enjoy it.
Good.
And for anybody who's wondering, the sales on this do stop on the 19th. So if you're looking for a Valentine's Day present, get your loved one a subscription, get them a wine pack, and just let them know that they'll have to wait a couple of days, but you've got something exciting coming to them.
Good deal. Thank you two so much. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. Cheers.
Bye.